Hello and welcome back to my YouTube channel. My name is Ernie Alima, and in today's video we're going to be covering topic 6 of AQA A-Level French, which is how criminals are treated, or comment on traite les criminels. Before I go into this video, I just need to warn you that this is not meant to be a substitute for official lessons and official textbooks. It's just a video to help you revise and to provide some additional content. There will be some statistics for this topic on future slides. However, if you want more, I'll put a link into this description for a very useful website that I use and have used before to help with A-levels, and we'll go from there. Before we get into this video, please like and subscribe. In this topic, there are 3 subtopics, and they are quelles attitudes envers la criminalité, la prison, échec ou succès, and d'autres sanctions. So the warm-up challenge is essentially to define any keywords. So essentially la criminalité, maybe la prison, and then to give these questions a go. So what attitudes are there towards crime? Is prison in general, is it a failure or a success? And what other sanctions are there instead of prison? So give these questions an answer. Of course, in French, if you're doing this on your own, just speak out loud. If you're doing it with someone else, ask each other the questions. It's good to practice speaking out loud in French. It really helps. On this slide, we have one final warm-up activity, and it's going over the roles of prison. So just think about what roles could prison serve, and we'll have some examples coming up. So the first role would be to punish or punir. La prison sert à infliger une peine à ceux qui ont enfreint la loi en les privant de leur liberté. Again, when these come up on the screen, please do try and read them out loud to practice your speaking in French. The next role of prison would be to protéger la société. En isolant les criminels dangereux, la prison protège la population contre d'éventuelles récidives. Another role of prison would be dissuader. L'existence de la prison agit comme un moyen de dissuasion pour prévenir les crimes et les délits. Another role could be la réhabilitation. La prison a également un rôle de réinsertion en offrant des programmes de formation, d'éducation ou de soutien psychologique pour préparer les détenus à une vie sans criminalité après leur libération. And then we've got one more role, so réparer. Indirectement, la prison peut être perçue comme une tentative de réparation des torts causés à la victime ou à la société. So it's a form of kind of retribution or reparation towards the victims. Now this slide has some words that could be useful for the topics. So give the video a pause and have a look at the words and phrases. Take note of the gender too. It's very useful to learn the gender of a word when you're learning the word. And then on the next slide, we'll have some more words, and then we'll go into the content. Okay, here we have 10 more words, and they're based on the topic of d'autres sanctions. So give the video a pause and just take note of these words. The first subtopic that we're going over is quelles attitudes envers la criminalité. This will be more of a general summary, and I'll give statistics specific to France in the following slide, just to give a better picture. And again, like a lot of these topics, what is linked to France could also apply to the UK. So if you're ever stuck, you can use your knowledge of the UK and essentially apply it to France with maybe a statistic or two. Starting off now with the public perception of prison sentences. So in France, there's debate about the effectiveness of long prison sentences compared to alternative penalties, which we'll look at in more detail later, including community service, especially for non-violent crimes. Some voices call for a reform of the penal system to reduce prison overcrowding and to promote the reintegration of offenders. There's also a role for education to play in the prevention of crime. So authorities in France are increasingly focusing on crime prevention through education and improving social conditions. School and community programs are being implemented to raise awareness among young people about the law and consequences of criminal behavior. Support for offender rehabilitation. So now rehabilitation is becoming a lot more relevant, and it's a very significant topic. There are many initiatives aimed at reintegrating former criminals into society by offering professional training and psychological support. The goal is to reduce recidivism rates and provide a second chance for convicted individuals. So, recidivism is essentially reoffending, and in French, it would be le récidivisme. Um, Finally, just two more subtopics. So, youth delinquency. There's growing concern about youth delinquency, often linked to poverty, marginalisation, or the lack of stable family structures. Some suggest the creation of specialised centres for young offenders to provide solutions tailored to their age and circumstances. And then the last detail would be trust in law enforcement. Public opinion in France is divided on how the police handle crime, particularly regarding security checks in sensitive neighbourhoods. Some communities express a lack of trust in law enforcement, which sometimes leads to tensions between the police and local populations. So, two things about this. Um, if you watch one of my other videos, which is topic 3, Le Rôle du Bénévolat, I would have mentioned a charity called Wake Up Cafe, which works to help to reintegrate former prisoners into society. I definitely recommend going back to that video, which is topic 3, just to have a look at this because it does link to this topic now, so la criminalité. And also, if you're studying the film La Haine, you'd also know that in some areas of France, like les banlieues, which are the suburbs, um, there can be difficult relationships between the police and law enforcement. I'm now going to read out some statistics. They are also on the screen. I'm going to read them as they are, so some are in English, some are in French. In 2020, an Ipsos/Sopra Steria survey showed that 55% of the French people support reintroduction of the death penalty. The survey found that 85% of voters of the National Rally Party (RN) supported the death penalty, with 71% for the Conservative Party Les Républicains and 39% for voters of the Liberal (LREM), the Socialist Party, the Green (EELV), and the far left (LFI). So we can see that for the more left-wing parties, support was a lot lower compared to the more right-wing parties. 82% of French people say they are worried about the global risks of cyber attacks, which again shows how la criminalité is evolving. The next statistic, tout d'abord, plus de 8 Français sur 10 déclarent avoir le sentiment que la délinquance a augmenté, and that's 85%. Ils se relèvent d'ailleurs de plus en plus nombreux à estimer qu'elle a beaucoup augmenté, 66% en 2024, soit plus de 29 points par rapport à 2022. So we can see that the feeling that there's been an increase in delinquent and bad criminal behavior has increased. We can see that it's increased significantly from previous years, 29 points from 2022. So that shows that the public in France feel that crime and bad behavior is increasing a lot. Finally, 1 in 3 French people have already been the victim of a successful internet hack. This is now another subtopic, which is prison a success? Is prison a failure or a success? If you've done the warm-up activity, you would have already contributed your own ideas. I'll provide 3 points for and 3 points against. There's no right answer, but it's always good to use some statistics too to help your points, and it's also good to consider both sides of the argument. So, some points for the fact that prison's a success. We could say that prisons in France offer reintegration programs to help inmates return to society, such as vocational training and therapy. Prisons serve to punish criminals and protect society by reducing the possibility of offenders committing crimes outside, which shows that prison has fulfilled its function and is a success. And the French prison system has undergone recent reforms to improve detention conditions and provide better rehabilitation for inmates. However, on the other side of the argument, you could say prison has been a failure due to overcrowding. So France faces overcrowding in its prisons, which creates inhumane living conditions and hinders rehabilitation efforts. As of October 2024, French prisons were 127.3% over capacity. You could also argue that there's been a failure of reintegration. Despite programs, a large number of inmates reoffend after their release, which questions the effectiveness of the reintegration system. In 2018, 57% of people sentenced in Belgian prisons were reoffenders. Now, finally, conditions of detention. Many prisons in France are criticized for their poor conditions, which can worsen the mental and physical well-being of inmates. Just two final notes to include. There are also unequal prison systems, and this isn't just the case in France. So in many French-speaking countries, prisons suffer from overcrowding, especially in French-speaking Africa, where prisons can be poorly equipped to deal with overcrowding, and also lack of resources. So some prisons in Africa lack resources to fund rehabilitation programs, leaving inmates in desperate and marginalised situations. The final subtopic is other sanctions. So not just prison, what else can governments do to deal with crime? If you want an extension, you can consider the pros and cons of each of these. The first one that we're going to consider is le travail d'intérêt général, which is also known as community service. This is a criminal sanction where the offender is required to work unpaid for the community and can do tasks such as cleaning public spaces or assisting in charities. The aim is for the individual to repair their wrongs while contributing positively to society. We also have les amendes, which are fines. A fine is a financial penalty imposed on the offender. It's often used for minor offences such as traffic violations or certain economic crimes. Its goal is to punish the individual while avoiding incarceration, using economic pressure to encourage respect for the law. In 2023 in France, more than 30 million driving fines were issued. We have things such as suspending driving licenses. For serious road offences, the suspension of the driving licence can be used as a sanction. This prevents the offender from driving for a determined period, which can significantly impact their daily life, particularly in terms of transportation and employment. We have electric monitoring, which is also known as le placement sous surveillance électronique. So this allows the convicted person to serve their sentence at home while under surveillance with an electronic bracelet. This means the individual can have some freedom, but their movements are also controlled, which ensures the safety of society. And we can also prohibit people going to certain places. So this sanction often requires that the offender stays away from certain places or people, such as victims or sensitive areas, for a determined period. It's often used in cases of domestic violence or violent behavior in public spaces. Finally, in the description of this video, I'll put the link to an article which talks about in Senegal how they've been fitting inmates with ankle tags to reduce prison overcrowding. It's definitely worth a read. On this slide, I have 3 sentences that need correcting. This exercise is just to practice noticing mistakes. There may be more than one mistake per sentence. So the first one, la prison est la seule solution pour arrêter la criminalité. What errors do we have here? So we can see the corrected version, la prison est la seule solution. We can see the word solution here is feminine. Almost all words ending in tion will be feminine. So it's la solution. And because it's feminine, we need to have an agreement with the word seul, meaning only. So it has an e at the end. La prison est la seule solution pour arrêter. Now we need the infinitive here because after pour, in this case, when we're talking about something like this, we'll say to. When pour is meaning to, we'll say we need the infinitive after. So pour arrêter la criminalité. Again, criminalité is feminine, so it needs la. Il faut qu'on punisse les gens qui commettent des crimes. Corrected version. Il faut qu'on punisse les gens qui commettent des crimes. So the first error was with the subjunctive. Il faut que requires the subjunctive. So we use punisse, and that comes from the they form of the verb and adding the ending e. Then the next part is the conjugation of the verb commettre. The correct conjugation is commettre des crimes, and notice how we don't pronounce the ent at the end. Finally, les prisonniers ne devraient pas avoir le droit d'étudier ou travailler en prison. So the error here, les prisonniers ne devraient, so it should be spelt A-I-E-N-T. When speaking, you won't be able to really notice that difference, but when writing, you need to pay attention. This is because it's plural, and it's just the they form of the verb, and then The next error would be eu de travailler. So instead of saying, it wouldn't really make sense to have travailler with an accent. We're talking about working. So it's eu de travailler en prison. That's just the correct sentence. This slide has 3 sentences for you to fill in the gaps, so please give the video a pause and I'll show the corrected answers after. The first one is si la prison reformait les criminels, il y aurait moins de récidives. The second one, beaucoup de criminels commettent des délits car ils n'ont pas de soutien social. And the last one, avant d'être emprisonné, il vivait une vie très difficile. So we've used the imperfect tense here because it makes the most sense in this context. We have now reached the end of this video. Thank you for watching. I hope it was useful. Please leave comments, please like, please subscribe for more content, and do stick around for more, especially A-level based content. We'll be going over a lot more. And again, final reminder to look in the description for more resources. But again, thank you for watching this video. Have a nice day. Au revoir.